The title of the video says it all. Can you beat Baldur's Gate 3 with only a single rogue is what it sounds like. And I'm gonna be honest, this was my second attempt at this challenge. And no, it's not because it's in honor mode. So, the rules are 1. No illithid powers unless absolutely necessary. 2. No barrel or chest mancy. 3. Play on tactician difficulty. 4. Avoid glitches. 5. No other party members besides my one rogue. 6. Party members such as us or Scratch that appear on the side of my portrait are allowed. 7. No reloading during combat, and that's going to have some interesting effects later. Now that the rules are out of the way, I'm going to go through the build. Pretty simple, I'm going to use a bow for this one. I have never used a bow in this game beyond their passive effects such as the Darkfire short bow, so this should be fun. Starting as a wood elf, which gives a movement boost and proficiency with the longbow, my main weapon type for the run. And I'm also playing as the Dark Urge for a reason that will become clear later. The Titan String longbow will be my main weapon of choice for most of the run. So, the run begins like usual. I was stuck inside a Mind Flayer pod after being infected by a parasite, and I need to make sure there are no witnesses to my grand crimes. So, this begins my journey to rid myself of the Mind Flayer parasite and become anonymous once more. So as I make my way through the Nautiloid, I come across a person with his brain exposed, and somehow the brain is speaking to me. After freeing the brain and gaining a legal companion, us, I make my way to the first combat encounter of the run. After having Lae'zel forcefully introduced to the party, I knock over the 3 imps in the fight and introduce Lae'zel to the concept of gravity. Continuing on, I find Shadowheart in the next area of the map, and after freeing her from the Nautiloid pod, introduce her to the concept of gravity also. The next room is a bit more difficult. The 15 turns we have to make it to the transponder in order to dimension jump away from hell, literally, is quite far away. Usually I would try and kill the demon commander here, but that would be impossible at this stage. So us and I kill the imps and hellboars and make it to the transponder. And I awake on a beach. I make my way over to Shadowheart, who is somehow here even though her body should be in the hells. Literally. After one-shotting her with a sneak attack, a mysterious artifact attaches itself to us, and despite our best efforts we can't get rid of it. As I continue, I sneak attack the intellect devourers and forget that my actions don't refresh yet. So I run away and kill one on the next turn, and the other shortly after that. I then forget to save and get killed by Asterion after trying to kill him for the XP. Whoops. After doing that all over again, I kill the Mind Flayer after killing that stupid vampire, and kill the Mind Flayer again, reaching level 2. I make my way to the ruins and fail a persuasion check, and after they attack, and me dying, I reload and try again. After succeeding this time, I smash the turn-based mode button, just like you should smash that like and subscribe button, and shoot the trap / the boulder thingamajig and kill 2 of them. After doing so, I sneak and disengage combat. The remaining combatants run away and I make my way to the Grove battle. There's nothing really to say here. I sneak attack when possible, killing the archers first and then shoot with my bow from the high ground. After the battle, I slowly make my way to Arnie Ethel because I am over encumbered, and give her all my stuff for free because that's going to be important later. The second hour starts pretty simply by unlocking a few chests and continuing down to the Druid's Grove proper. After being invited to meet their leader, I promptly get distracted getting more XP by sneaking to Volo and this tiefling woman with a terrible singing voice. I think she was having trouble with coming up with the words, so I gave her a hand. Good thing nothing will ever happen to this woman. After giving a bear some fish, I go up the elevator and attempt to fight the bugbear. Anyone who has fought this guy with only one character at level 2 should know how difficult this is, even when you get surprise attacks. After doing so, I walk outside the Tiefling Grove, completely forgetting that I was supposed to talk to the druids. I find some cultists along the road, and they mention that there was an owlbear that attacked their brother, and they call me a true soul, which was strange. Anyway, after getting more information about the Absolute, I told them to go down the road and get revenge for their brother by killing the owlbear, which will likely not go well. As I avoid them and make my way down the road, I veer off to the left and speak with the best boy in this entire game, Scratch. And I just have to compliment the devs on this one. The fact that every animal in the game has a story to go with them and has unique dialogue is amazing. Continuing from this encounter, I reach level 3, and with it, I gain the Assassin subclass, which currently do 3 things for me. Anytime I attack a surprise creature, I auto-crit, and when I start combat, I regain actions and bonus actions. And I have advantage against creatures that haven't taken an action yet, so thanks to my high dexterity, I'll usually always be going first. As I make my way through the Blight village, I talk my way past 2 sets of goblins for some more XP. And then I start making my way over to the goblin camp for even more. On the way to the outpost, a goblin makes me smear dung all over my face. And let's just say they're going to regret that. They'll never even see me coming. As I make my way over the bridge, a powerful presence bears down upon me, the voice of the Absolute, and tells me of its 3 champions, an older, more distinguished man, a handsome young man, and an extremely pale woman. But I just need XP, so I ignore the voice in my head, like usual, and continue on. After getting Volo sent back to his cage for later use, I move inside the goblin camp's interior, and pass another speech check with some goblins, and go to the priestess Gut. After getting branded, I ignore her offer for her to help me, because if I do so, I will trigger the entire camp to fight, and I am not ready for that. After freeing Volo, he goes to my camp where he will remain until the end of Act 1 in order to function as my bank. I then poison the booze tub to see what would happen, and like 7 goblins die, and the rest are rather damaged, which, if I was playing with a regular party, would be the perfect time to strike. But I need more setup first. So the first thing to do is find my main weapon for the run, the Titan String Longbow, which you can get after trading with the merchants underneath Joaquin Keep. So I collect the shipment, and because I need the defenders to die, I throw a powder bomb at their feet, and when they talk to me, I say I'll help them, but I fire a fire arrow at the bomb, blowing them to Kingdom Come, and fast travelling out of there as quickly as possible. Once I convince the Thieves Guild leader that I am no harm, I give her the chest, and I get the bow, which with strength elixirs will give me +6 damage to every attack. There is one more large source of XP in this act, and that is taking down the Githyanki at the start of the mountain pass. So I do just that. I wanted to see what would happen if I produced the artifact in front of them, and promptly got killed. Once I do the encounter correctly, I finish just shy of level 4, where the real fun can begin. So I head back to the Druid's Grove to start the main quest for Act 1. When I talked to Karga about freeing the Tiefling child for stealing the Idol of Sylvanas, she told me to speak to Zevlor in order to get the Tieflings to move out of the grove. I agreed because I'm gonna need more XP in order to make my character as strong as possible. When I spoke to the Tiefling girl's parents, I leveled up to 4 and took the Sharpshooter feat, which gives a -5 to attack rolls and a +10 to damage. Afterwards, before the main questline, I started a grind in order to get invisibility potions and elixir of hill giant strengths. The loop was simple. I partial rested to reset merchant inventories, then I pickpocketed Volo for his gold, supply packs and healing potions, and whatever else was useful. Then I went to the desired merchant and bought the items. Rinse and repeat. During this, I met my extremely attractive dream visitor, killed Alfira the Bard from the Grove, and got the Deathstalker's mantle for my troubles from my butler. In the next hour, even though I have to do this grind again to make sure I never run out of elixirs, I'm gonna kill the goblins in order to steal the Idol of Sylvanas. So now that I have my main quest, it's time to start killing goblins. The first thing I do is I stop at the Blighted Village in order to talk to the ogres who might come in handy later. So after showing them my brand, I convince them to fight for me, and then continue on to the Goblin Cave. Now, while I mostly cleared out the cave on my first try, Minthara managed to kill me by shoving me off a ledge. Goblins down below, clearing most of them out. So long as I'm either sneaking or invisible, thanks to the Deathstalker's mantle, the hit and run strategy that I need to employ works. Killing the hobgoblin leader and looting the stash that doesn't really do anything, which is fine. I slowly use my bow to clear out Minthara and her goons, and as you can probably see why, this weapon is so good. I'm one-shotting almost every single goblin. The only ones who survive are the goblin leaders that have more than 30 hit points. The fighting continues by sniping Priestess Glut and the rest of the goblins. So, it had been a few weeks since my last recording session, but the first thing I did in this new one was get the Sleight of Hand ring, which boosts the pickpocket chance by +2 at the cost of -1 charisma, so it's a fairly good item. Afterwards, I clear out the gnolls on the path at Joaquin Rest, and this was pretty easy, constantly breaking combat and re-engaging with stealth advantage. After doing so, I clear out the goblin camp using the same strategy, making sure to break combat after most kills in order to regain advantage. This was not too difficult, and the only scary part was when the ogre guard hit me once, almost killing me in one shot. But I just took an invis potion and broke combat again, killing him the next turn.
I must heal.
Next up is the fight at the Risen Road with the fake Paladins of Tyr, and this was pretty easy, so after killing Karlach, which feels bad man because she's the best girl, don't at me, I go to the Paladins to get the reward, and when speaking to the trader I misclicked the wrong button and now I'm in combat. God damn it. The combat starts with me throwing the trader off the cliff, killing her instantly, which is by far my favourite kill in this entire run. And then scurrying up the ladder because, not gonna lie, Deathstalker's mantle, which you get for killing Althera, is really, really, really good. And when the other paladins come out, combat breaks and I snipe the other one that isn't the main guy in one hit. Lastly is the main paladin, and this guy will one-shot me if he hits me. That's why I wanted to get his sword, so he couldn't do that, so I need to play keep away. Anyway, after throwing him from the roof, dealing a good amount of damage, he attempts to make his way back up to me, but I just shoot him with my bow, killing him, ending the encounter. I also clear out the gnolls in the cave, and almost kill Finn in one turn, and there isn't much to say about this basic combat, as there is no difference between killing these guys and killing goblins. The same strategy remains. Break combat whenever I can, shoot arrows, repeat. Here comes a power spike though. I make my way to the mountain pass and meet a devilishly handsome fellow called Raphael, and it turns out he's an actual devil. Well, rogues aren't known for making deal with the devils, so despite his handsome face and cool demeanor, I tell him to bugger off and continue on my way, and in the mountain pass I obtain the armor that I will be wearing until level 8. The armor whose name I can't remember, but all you need to know is that it's the Dex armor, boosting my Dex to 19 and giving me advantage on all dexterity saving throws. Hour 6 was spent grinding money in order for a strategy that I might need to implement in Act 2 in order to beat Merkel if I cannot defeat him in a 1v1. The only interesting thing was that in Ethel's Swamp I rolled a natural 20 on my first try and revealed the swamp for what it was, a putrid bog. Now, the strategy I used is pretty simple. All you have to do is partial rest, then pickpocket Volo, go to the merchant of choice, if it's whatever merchant can be pickpocketed, pickpocket them, then partial rest again, and so on and so forth. Now it's time for the Underdark. As I make my way through the Goblin Camp entrance and then down into the Underdark, I make sure to snipe the Minotaur in order to get the XP. Next is the Spectator, which, all things honest, is not a hard fight. I just start off by shooting a statue in order to trigger the surprise round, and then re-engage once surprise ends, getting me the surprise round. I just snipe, disengage with an invis pot, and then re-engage. Doing things a bit out of order, I decide to go to the Arcane Tower in order to take out Bernard and his cronies for some more XP. While it takes a while to get there, something completely broken about stealth archery here at some... It takes a while, but there's something completely broken about stealth archery in this fight. At some point, Bernard just stops caring that his minions keep dying around him, and in the end, when I kill off all his minions, I just wait for his action to wear off, and for the next 2 turns he's stunned. So I just hit control, and then spam arrows and finish him off. I make my way to the Myconoid colony in order to speak to the hobgoblin there. He says that his companion can help me, and suddenly a mind flayer appears, not enthralled by the Elder Brain. Crazy. Anyway, he gives us a potion that only makes the parasite stronger, and I move on to the next encounter, this being the Bibberbangs. But this is boring. Only know that I got the noble stalk and gave it to the woman who will help out later with her potions in Act 3. Afterwards, I clear out the Hookfangs and the crazy Drow summoner, and next I make my way over to the Minotaurs where the Bullet makes themselves known again, and with a few arrows I take out the 2 Minotaurs and the Bullet. Bullet. Now it's time for the beach fight, and this should be quite simple. So after picking up Glut for some cannon fodder, I go to the beach. And if you don't know, the leader who summons the undead is on the platform next to this box. Other than a couple of retries, because I wouldn't be able to take out the undead summoned by the leader, this was a rather simple fight. Just shoot and hide, then shoot. Next up is the Grimforge, and I'm not gonna lie, I basically did nothing for the next half an hour because I was looking for the gnome, dwarf, I actually don't know, who stole the rune powder barrel that will come in handy in Act 2. So after spending way too long looking for the deep gnome who had the barrel, I convince her to give me a small vial of the powder before she runs away. And that would be the last mistake she ever made. Slamming on turn-based mode and hiding, I fire my bow and deal a brutal 50 damage in one attack. That is insane. So after picking up the rune powder barrel and sending it home, next up is deeper in the Grimforge, where I fight some undead dark justiciars, which once again wasn't any different than my usual combat style, just shoot, hide, then shoot. And I'm just going to skip to the magma methods. They literally never even saw me. All I did was summon Scratch right in the middle of them to start the round, and then surprise attack them. Stealth is way too broken in this game. When I put the scimitar mod into the forge, which was a mistake because I can't even use it, and I proceed to misty step to the high ground, where I shot Grim for about 20 minutes until he died of 1,000 cuts before getting to an actually tough fight, sort of. So I want the XP from both of the dwarf factions in this forge, so I decided to kill them all before freeing Nier. And it was basically the same strategy, but here is the kicker. I ran out of invis potions, and there were 2 dwarves that were using the same strategy as me, casting invis and hiding. I was also visible, creating a game of chicken, which I eventually won. Now it's time to free Nier, and I'm going to do this fight without invis potions, since in order to get more, I would have to long rest killing Nier and robbing me of that sweet, sweet XP. So it turns out that I way overhyped Nier's difficulty. He was not hard at all. I had to use 2 smoke powder bombs and a smoke powder satchel to break the rubble, but other than that he took a surprise hit and a surprise round to finish off. He died in less than 3 hits. Now, before I go through the Githyanki Kresh and Auntie Ethel, I'm going to grind for gold and potions, and I'm going to do the spider boss. Or rather, I'm not going to do the spider boss, because there's no point, because she drops literally nothing useful. Next, I spent 4 hours grinding out items that I needed, such as arrows, bombs, and invisibility potions, using the same method as before, by partial resting, pickpocketing Volo for more gold, and then going to the desired merchant and either pickpocketing them, or looting them, or just buying items, and then I repeated over and over and over again. However, that last comment was a lie. I only spent 2 hours grinding for items because I got extremely bored doing so, so I decided to go to the Githyanki Kresh. Then I got bored once I got all the items I needed, such as large quantities of invisibility potions and enough bombs to make a nuke, in case I need it later, and started to make my way to the Githyanki Kresh. The outside of the Kresh wasn't difficult. I merely killed all the kobolds and the weird magical beasts that clone and explode when you hit them with magic, but I don't know any magic besides scrolls, so that didn't really matter. But inside the Kresh, I got one of the main staples for this run, the Knife of the Undermountain, which, if you didn't know, raises your critical hit chance from 5% to 10%, and with an elixir of vigilance, because I'm currently using the Hill Giant Strength Club, you get a 15% chance to crit, and this can go up even further. I then needed to stock up on specialty arrows, because with the Titan String Longbow, these things are ridiculously good. If you didn't know, they deal the damage that you would deal twice for some reason. So about 20 minutes and 20,000 gold later, I had plenty of these arrows and supreme healing potions, with my periaptive wound closure would heal me for all of my hit points just using a bonus action. And I decide to move on to one of the harder fights in Act 1. And I'm sure if I had to fight this battle straight up, it would be extremely difficult. But if you haven't already figured it out, stealth with the Deathstalker's Mantle is so ridiculously good that I don't think I got hit in the entire fight, taking down most of the enemies with 1 or 2 well-placed shots. Even the boss only went down in like 3 hits. So, the loot was really interesting. I found a ring that I hadn't thought about before in my research, and it gives your weapons an extra 1d4 of psychic damage if you're concentrating on a spell. And you might think, Hyena, you're a rogue, you don't have spells. But this ring works with scrolls. So long as I use a low risk scroll, which is basically anything but haste, I will always have an extra 1d4 damage so long as I don't forget to start a fight with a prepared scroll. And that's basically it. I kill everyone using the same tactics and then proceed to Auntie Ethel's hideout. After buying the last Hill Giant elixirs that I need from Auntie Ethel, I attack her, triggering her transformation into a hag. Or rather, I suppose it's not really a transformation, but dispelling an illusion. Anyway, then her red caps come after me, and I kill them easily, of course, using the same strategy I have for the entire run. Now it's time for the hag fight, one which I consider to be the most difficult of Act 1 if you go in unprepared. And let me tell you, that opinion was completely and unequivocally unjustified. If you're struggling with Ethel here, here's a general setup you can use in order to kill her. Oh, and her minions weren't even worth talking about, but I guess I just did talk about them, so we're moving on. First, you want to use an invisibility spell or potion in order to hide from Ethel and free Mayrina. This isn't strictly necessary, but if you can't output sufficient damage, then you may want to do so. Make sure you have a way to see invisible creatures. Either with Volo's Eye or Seer Invisibility, both work fine here. Next, you want to make sure Ethel is invisible so you can get the jump on her. And for some reason, if you cast darkness while invisible, it doesn't break invisibility or trigger the fight. Then you want to attack her. If you're an assassin rogue, then you get 2 free attacks, as your dex should be high enough to get first initiative. So first you attack, and then drink an elixir of viciousness to get a plus 5% to crit and attack again. If your build is like mine, you can defeat her in 1 turn. If not, simply walk into the darkness cloud and wait your turn, as Ethel's clones can't fire into the darkness, walk out, then attack again. It's as easy as that. After convincing her to give me the girl and her power, I take a +1 into dexterity, bringing me up to 20 dex. And that does it for Act 1. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more uploads and part 2 of this challenge. Have a wonderful day.